Hello, I'm Zara Imtiaz, welcoming you to another Asian Agribiz podcast. IBD Gumboro is a common disease in Southeast Asia. In different countries of the region, there are different IBD genetic strains that cause morbidity, mortality, and performance losses. My colleague Meliana talks with Leandro Ferreira, Poultry Technical Director, Southeast Asia at Phibro Animal Health Corporation, about the disease update and what producers can do to minimize disease impacts.
Good morning, Leandro. It's nice to have you in this podcast.
Hi, Meliana. Good morning. The pleasure is mine. Thank you for the invitation to participate on this podcast. I hope today we will be able to deliver some useful information about Gumboro disease to the poultry producers in the region.
Okay. Why don't we start this podcast with a short introduction of yourself and your company?
Yes, Meliana, for sure. My name is Leandro Ferreira. I'm a Brazilian veterinarian. I'm a Poultry Technical Director in Southeast Asia for Phibro Animal Health. And actually, I live in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So essentially, Phibro Animal Health is a company focusing medicated feed additive, natural feed additive, and vaccine solution for animal production.
As we know, IBD or Gumboro is one of the most common diseases of commercial poultry in Asia. Can you please explain what causes IBD?
Yes, you are completely right, Meliana. Currently, Gumboro is a concern in the region. So infectious bursal disease, IBD, or Gumboro disease, is caused by a virus that belongs to the vvIBDV genus. It's a highly contagious virus disease of young chicken affecting broiler breeders and layers. The virus replicates mainly in the Bursal fabricius, causing immunosuppression, high mortality, and significant economic losses for the world poultry industry due to the poor performance and secondary infections. The disease takes several forms and can range from a subclinical form with immunosuppression but little or no disease signs to a very virulent form characterized by high morbidity and mortality.
Is there any new variant IBD virus detected in Asia? And if yes, how serious is the threat of this new variant? What are the signs and symptoms of the new variant, and how does this variant manifest in chicken?
As we discussed before, Meliana, Gumboro is a common disease in Southeast Asia. In different countries of the region, there are different IBD genetic strains that cause morbidity, mortality, and performance losses, especially caused by subclinical Gumboro. Most recently, in 2019, a new variant of IBD was isolated in Malaysia for flocks vaccinated against Gumboro. However, based on the description of the case, this variant does not represent a big threat in my opinion. The flock where the variant was isolated showed morbidity, poor performance, and mortality below 8%. What is quite common in other countries when you have lack of biosecurity or mid-age farms or a poor vaccination program or error during the vaccination application, etc.
In Indonesia, IBD is among the top 4 diseases in layers, causing a drop in production. Which countries have many outbreaks in Asia, and which group does it hit most? Young birds, laying hens, or breeders?
First, it's important to keep in mind that birds in production, layers or breeders, are not affected by Gumboro, okay? Since they do not have any more the Bursal fabricius. Gumboro is a quite common disease in the layer production for all the countries. However, regions with more bird concentration or more population of birds and multi-age farms are more susceptible. The pullet layers, mainly between 3 and 6 weeks of age, are very susceptible to the IBD virus, more than pullet breeders and broilers.
So, how can farms keep their flocks secure from IBD? What are the main issues around or that hamper protection efforts against IBD? are there new technologies or vaccines that can be used to prevent an outbreak on a farm?
Basically, biosecurity and vaccination are the most important measures against Gumboro. Multi-age farms, poor biosecurity, and an incorrect vaccination program are, for me, the main issues in the control of Gumboro. Yes, recently a new Gumboro hatcher vaccine was launched in Southeast Asia. This vaccine contains a Gumboro naked virus that can be applied in broilers, breeders, native birds, and layers. This vaccine as well promotes an earlier onset of immunity than any other Gumboro vaccine and protect against all IBD field strains. However, it's important to remember that the vaccines are only one part of the Gumboro control strategy and alone cannot avoid the IBD infection.
Leandro, should an outbreak occur, what can farmers do to minimize disease impacts? What is the best treatment for IBD and what is the usual mortality rate for IBD?
Unfortunately, once the farmers face a Gumboro outbreak, there is nothing that they can do. For that reason, if a Gumboro problem happens, it's important for the farmers first a correct diagnostic. The PCR test is the best tool for that. They can also use this tool to make a survey in the field. Okay, so they will understand what kind of strains they have in the field, if the actual vaccine program it's working or it's only a punctual problem. Okay, but after the laboratory confirmation, after this monitoring, let's say report, they can review their vaccination program. For example, which vaccine strain I'm using, should I change or not? What age should I vaccinate? If it's a layer, for example, I will vaccinate more than one time. If it's a broiler, it's enough to vaccinate only one time. How is extremely important to review the biosecurity procedures. Okay, so these two points are key, as we discussed before. The prevention is the best strategy, the best and the cheapest strategy. Okay, there is no treatment for Gumboro. The mortality rate can achieve up to 100%. It will depend on the strain. Of course, today with a massive vaccination and 100% of the broiler produced in the world, I tell you this, they are vaccinated against Gumboro. And for that reason, those days it's difficult to see a bird vaccinated with a high mortality rate as 100%, but it's possible.
Is there an estimate for the losses suffered by the industry due to the disease? Is eradication of IBD possible?
Meliana, this is a very interesting question and I don't have an update data. And to be honest, I don't know if there is an update data. Maybe because the main impact of Gumboro is caused by subclinical disease. And it's difficult to calculate or estimate the losses caused by subclinical disease in general. This is my guess. But the last information that I had from a presentation of Dr. Jack David from the Inventor, he mentioned that the impact of Gumboro in the profitability due to the loss of performance was calculated around 11 and 14%. Infection with Gumboro disease is very common in all chicken production regions of the world. The virus is highly resistant to environment conditions, and for that reason, it's difficult, and I would say impossible, to eliminate the virus. What we can do is, with a proper vaccination program, is to replace the field challenge with a vaccine strain, and then you can control the Gumboro pressure in the field and reduce the impact of subclinical Gumboro in your flock. Okay?
Excellent. Thanks a lot for sharing your insights and experience, Leandro. It was a pleasure talking to you.
You are welcome, Meliana. It was a very, very interesting and nice conversation. I'm more than happy to share some insights with you and with the audience. Thanks, Asian AgriBiz, for the invitation, and I wish our conversation will be helpful for the Southeast Asia poultry producers.
I hope you were able to get some valuable information from this episode. Thank you for listening in. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. For more on the Asian animal protein industries, please visit www.asian-agribiz.com.